Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi-Thorin Alliance. In today's video, we'll be discussing episode 3 of Loki. If you can, like and subscribe, give a comment about your thoughts about the show so far. I guess we'll drop into how the episode starts.
Yeah, so where do we start with this episode? We get
to see how she actually got the information from the commander, who was played, funnily enough, by the actress that was in other show.
Yeah, okay, I remember now. So we see this strange scene where we've got the female variant of Loki talking and sitting at this bar.
Yeah,
or a restaurant and drinking margaritas, which I was watching going, this is strange. I didn't know they were friends. And then they're talking about brain freezes, and then they were asking about it just seemed really strange. And then it hit what was happening, because she goes, oh, when you have a brain freeze, it freezes your synapses and you can't remember things for a second. And then she then suddenly chucks in the question of, oh, how do we get to the timekeepers?
Yeah.
And the character's like, sorry, what do you mean? And then she tried again, and then it goes back and it shows her kind of doing her enchantment thing on this the person, the commander, and it shows. Well, it explains what she's doing. She's trying to find out the info how to get into the timekeepers.
And then it actually shows from how episode 2, from how Loki and Morbius got there, showed it from her point of view or perspective.
And what happens after that, we see her then, she gets enough information and then she decides she wants to break into the TVA and go after the timekeepers.
Yeah.
Which then we're met by Loki again, because he's followed her. So I'm guessing that first scene was a flashback of what she did to that girl before she...
To explain it,
yeah. Before she gave her back. And then it skipped to the point where she's jumped into the time portal.
And Loki
followed. And then they're back at the TVA.
Yeah.
And then...
we get an action scene.
Yeah, we get a bit of fighting and action scene. Loki's following her, but is kind of friendly because he wants to know what she knows and he wants to be part of her plan. We see the like the judge or executioner kind of thing character come in, and she has a swipe at him with her stick. Yeah, as they're getting swiped at, Loki presses the machine they use, and then it opens the time portal. They fall through, and then they have a bit of a fight for it again. And then, kind of like an asteroid or something comes through the tent they fall into. And then they kind of question where they are, and then it's revealed that they're in Lamentis 1. And what's unique about this planet?
Well, it's set in 2077, but it happened to be kind of going back to episode 2. Unfortunately, Loki chose the period in time that's apocalypse.
Yeah, and this planet is being destroyed because...
The asteroid.
Yeah, because there's another planet. I think Lamentis might be a moon.
Yeah.
And then a planet next to it's exploding, or the reverse. Lamentis could be a planet and a moon's exploding. And we can see it in the distance, breaking apart. And apparently they've got 12 hours into destruction of this planet. And as you said, they go there because in episode 2 they talk about how the variant disguises in apocalypses or natural disasters because they don't get noticed by the TVA.
Yeah.
So they go there, and what is the challenge they face in this episode? So what are they trying to do?
Well, they need power to activate the device so they can teleport anywhere but there. But power's hard to come by because people are trying to, survive.
Yeah, she said that it needs a large power source, which I guess it's a small device, but if it goes through interdimensional travel, then maybe it needs a lot of power. That makes sense. So the episode, they're seeking this power to charge it, and they agree they're going to team up, because if they don't, they're going to be stuck on this planet, and that will be the end of them. So what's their first plan to get power?
Well, they meet up with this female that was in the house, and then they have this dynamic of the mindsets of the different characters. The female Loki is more got to attack, and then she gets blasted away, and then Loki is more talking his way out of things, more trickster-like, and then he disguises himself because he sees the picture of the husband, and they both don't work.
I like that scene because it goes to show that they're different approaches, that the female Loki is more about action and crash bang, trying to do things fast and fighting, and Loki's more about manipulation and trickery. Yeah. So they see this lady in her home and they think, oh, well, they don't know she's in the home at first, but they think, oh, we might be able to get some power here. Bang, opens the door, she gets shot by some kind of gun, but doesn't kill her, but just stuns her. Loki has his idea that, oh, I'm going to pretend to be her husband, which then comes unraveled by the fact that he says something nice to her, and she goes, he would never say something nice to me.
30 years or something.
And then he falls the same dilemma. But then they end up talking to the lady, and she explains that people are getting on the train to go to the Atlas, where they're going to escape the planet. So, which Loki and, well, the female Loki knows that doesn't happen, that Atlas never actually gets off the planet.
Yeah.
But they don't care, they just want to go steal its power. So, what do they then have to do to try and get to the ship?
Well, there's actually a funny power scene when they see like a power sign, Loki's like, oh, we could use that, and then and she asks, she goes, oh, well, give me back the device, because that's the contents trend throughout the episode,
because he's somehow like done his little magic and made it disappear, and when she asked where it is, he said, oh, it's in my heart. So she tries to trick him, and he pulls that up straight away. He goes, oh, I'm not just going to hand it over to you.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, you're right, actually, this requires a bit more than a neon sign to power up.
Yeah.
So then they kind of team up again, and they then have to get on the train. So explain the train scene.
Well, we see that, like in all common, I guess, worlds like ours, the rich are getting on and the poor, even a couple of people are saying we've been waiting for like 2 hours or 3 hours or quite a long time. And then Lady Loki's way of getting on the train is like, oh, I'm going to manipulate one of the guards. And then Loki's like, well, what happens if that doesn't work? Well, we'll kill the other guards.
And they, I don't know if it was before or after that, Loki asks her about her enchanting powers. Yeah. And she kind of explains how it works, and that's what she was doing on the soldier at the start, that some people she can easily touch and she can just get into their minds. And then other people are a bit stronger, where she is in their mind, but usually in a scene of something that's happened in the past, and she's got to try and trick them inside it, which explains what she was doing in the first scene.
And it doesn't work against Loki.
Yeah, because Loki says his mind's too strong. So they try their two separate... They kind of combine together to get on the train. Loki decides that he's going to make himself disguise as a guard. So he does his magic and he looks like a guard, and he's going to claim that she's like a prisoner of some sort.
Yeah.
And they try and get on. The guy notices that they shouldn't be getting on, and then that's...
Where's your pass, please?
And that's where she steps in and she grabs his arm and enchants him, and then he lets them on. So it showed that they can work together. They have different skills, but combined can be quite useful. And then they're on the train and things seem to be going well, but they decide that they've got two different methods to wasting time.
Yeah. One's kind of sleeping and different things.
Yeah, and like our Loki decides that he wants to party.
Yeah.
So he starts drinking, and he's with people that are they're having a good time because they know the end of the world's coming, so they're just trying to enjoy their last moments. And then it kind of comes undone.
Yeah.
How's it come undone?
And we did get a nice conversation about their mothers as well.
Oh, yes, you make a good point. They talked about their mothers and the difference between them. They strangely asked each other about their love interest, which is not really something that's heavily involved in the Marvel Universe or something associated with Loki, but he wanted to know if she had a partner and he wanted to know if she did. And I don't know if they're setting that up for them to become love interest, which is kind of weird because they are the same person in a way. So that's a bit strange. So I thought, I was watching it going, where is this leading? Like, are they...
And Loki showed his, like, trick that he can do.
Yeah, that he can... Like, his mother taught him magic and he can make fireworks on his hand and he has lots of different powers. And she revealed that she taught herself her magic.
Yeah.
They ask a bit about their family, and I mentioned before to you off camera that they didn't talk about Thor.
No.
I was hoping...
Or Odin.
Yeah, I was hoping that he was going to ask her if she has a brother named Thor or if she has a sister in her world, but they just didn't mention it. And she didn't ask about Thor, and he didn't mention Thor, so I don't know. We could talk about that later, what our theories might be about that.
Did you like their kind of different personalities by how Loki kind of knew but he didn't know, but Lady Loki was told? It was kind of interesting how their different paths were different.
Yeah, that he was really shocked that she knew she was an orphan, well, was adopted, and he found out later, and maybe that changes why they're a bit different. Why he seems resentful because his parents kept that secret from him, and he's obsessed with power, and she doesn't seem to be obsessed with power because maybe she's under the mindset that she was adopted, so she isn't owed power. She isn't the rightful king of Asgard like Loki believes he is. She is just someone that was rescued by Loki's family and was lucky to escape the ice planet. So maybe that could be it. So that was a nice change. So Loki gets a bit drunk and changes his outfit. He returns to his Varian outfit.
Yeah.
And the guards come suspicious. And then what happens there?
Well, one of the person that was watching him sing was kind of suspicious. It's like, oh, he's not wearing the security guard outfit anymore, so he went to the security guards, and then Lady Loki was like, oh, you're not really acting like undercover, so he spilt what was like a piece of cheese or food or something.
Yeah, so they have their little fight with the guards, and eventually they break the window and our Loki gets thrown out.
Yeah. And
the female Loki then follows because she needs him because he has the device. She asks for the device and he makes it appear, but it's all destroyed because he said he took a great tumble and that destroyed it, which makes sense, but I don't know because it wasn't in his back pocket. He somehow magically made it go inside him. I don't know, but that destroyed it. So, she was very upset about that.
She does a big screaming, and then Loki asks, did that make you feel better? And she's like, yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did. That was a good scene. And then what plan did they come up with next?
To go to the place where the rocket was.
Yeah, and they're going to... I think they call it the Atlas, and they wanted to hijack the Atlas because she goes, oh, it never made it off the planet. And he goes, oh, well, they never had us, which makes me think they talk about going to these natural disasters that by changing... nothing you do changes what happens because it ends up happening inevitably. So I was thinking if they hijack the Atlas and they get off the planet, then they will be noticed because they've then changed the future because everyone on that planet supposedly dies, but if they then get off and take others with them, then they've changed what happens, which goes against that whole theory that Loki had of becoming unnoticed, so then they would become noticed. So they walk there. They have a bit of a funny scene where Loki asks if he can be enchanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember that scene?
He was tired of walking, and then he's like, oh, I want to be enchanted, and she didn't do it?
Yeah, he said, oh, can't you just enchant me, and then my subconscious will walk, and I'll just be asleep? And she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so they get to this city, and it's a cool kind of futuristic neon city.
And at this point, the big reveal happened.
Which was that?
with how all the secret variant police who hunt variants.
Yes, that's right. Because he asked about the character, the soldier, how she got the memories off her or something, and basically she said, "Oh, it was from her past life on Earth."
Yeah.
And he goes, well, "Like, what do you mean?" And then she explains that the Minutemen that worked there, they were variants that have now worked for the TVA, but they don't know they work for the TVA, which backs up some theories that you've mentioned that the TVA may actually be the bad guys, or some of them, or one person for them could be bad, and
they're basically messed and slaves. It's not their fault, so it kind of makes sense because the last episode, Morbius was like, "I want to ride a jet ski." It's like, well,
and he didn't know why. He has an interest in jet skis, but no recollection of having anything to do with jet skis. So we'll ask a few questions about that later. So they then get to this city. It's falling apart. They have a bit of a fight with the police, and then they see this ship end up getting destroyed because the moon or planet above them breaks, and then everyone kind of just falls to the ground and is like, "Yep, we've got no hope of getting off." So there's no more fighting, and that's where the episode leaves us. Short episode.
Very, out of the two others, the most action in the episode, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best episode. But I think the reveal in the episode, it makes sense and it makes things interesting moving forward.
Yeah. I think out of the three so far, it was the one that was least exciting because we discovered the least amount of stuff, but we did get planted with a few seeds of things that are going to be important. So we found out a bit of info about the people at the TVA, but we don't know why or how. We just know that they are or were human. We find out a tiny bit about Loki variant, the female one, but then we're left with are the main characters dying? Are they about to die? What is their fate?
Yeah.
Which leads me to my first question: what do you think happens? How do they get off this planet?
I think either there's going to be a MacGuffin that allows them to find a way to get off, or Morbius is going to come and save them, one of the two.
That's what my thought is. I have a feeling that the TVA will somehow find them.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, but the TVA are hunting them, so why would the TVA save them? But I think that's going to have something to do with it. Maybe Morbius comes back. I don't know. I think the TVA is going to be the answer because it seems like there's no way off this planet.
Well, Morbius is a good person and a good guy. He's just being used, and I think he's putting his life work into this organisation that's having variants, hunting variants. It's a perfect scam.
Yeah. So
were you with the twist? Did it get you, or what was your thoughts about the twist?
I didn't actually give any thought to what the TVA workers were. Not really. We talked about it, but I didn't.
Makes sense.
It didn't cross my mind that they were humans or variants. I just thought they were beings that had been created. But them being variants is interesting. But I guess I want to know why.
What's the selection process?
Yeah, exactly. Who gets to live and who dies, or when they so-called incinerate a variant, do they actually do that, or do they just brainwash them? Like, do we think
like
they're being
Men in Black ones?
Yeah, do we think they're being incinerated, but they're not? They're actually just getting transported to somewhere where they get given a job at the TVA. So so cross that up. What do we think will happen?
And what do you think after Loki tells Morbius this information? What do you think his reaction will be?
I think it will take some convincing, but in the end, the show will turn out where Morbius teams up with them and they take down the villain, whether it be the TVA. But it's apparent that the female Loki isn't a villain.
No, I kind of...
Unless there's a double twist where she 100% is a villain, but it's set it up to think that she's not.
She's neutrally okay, but we don't know why she's doing what she's doing.
So we kind of know her plan. So she mentioned that she's been running her whole life from the TVA.
Yeah.
And that she just wants to get a hold of the timekeepers. So does she want to kill them? Does she want to ask them questions? I don't know. Can she fight them? Don't know either. But that is her plan. So why do you think she's been hunted her whole life?
I think because she's a variant, and I guess her cycle, her journey, as they like to cycle it all out, was different to other Lokis. So it's like, this one we need to put in a box or just get rid of.
I'm thinking similar. I think that because she's the only mention of a female version of Loki, that she is. That's what makes her a variant. In her universe, Loki was born a female opposed to a male, and that makes her a variant. So they've been trying to destroy her from day one because she's not meant to exist. She wasn't meant to be that way. And that's my thought. Again, I'm hoping we get to find out a bit more about her.
Yeah.
But that makes, in my mind, that makes the most sense, that her variation is the fact that she's female and not male. Because it doesn't seem like she was trying to do anything sinister. She's just been chased her whole life by the TVA. And why would they chase someone if they hadn't did anything wrong?
Would you like to see all the characters with the TVA go against their masters? Would you like kind of a, civil war kind of, some... Obviously not everyone's going to believe what Loki will say, but I think Morbius is probably the main one that will, because he's a likeable character, and
I don't know what I want to see with the TVA, because I partially hope they are good, because
I think they're just misused.
Because they've got too much power. But if they don't have variants hunting variants, then does that mean that all variants will, there's no one stopping variants? So then does that create risk? Does the TVA need to exist? Because if they are out all day hunting variants, there's obviously a reason, because those variants could potentially be dangerous. So are they doing a good job? I don't know if they're the villains or not, because if they are hunting people that are going back and forward through time, doing bad things, and maybe they are doing good work.
Well, they're being misused and they don't know what they are.
Yeah, so that could be the problem, but I don't know, is that bad? If you were a variant, you were committing a time crime, and your punishment was to then work your whole life and not know why, then maybe that's a fair punishment. It's that or death. I don't know, we don't know enough about it yet. It makes you think, and it is a clever storyline. The whole idea of how time, and the fact that they were able to skip forward to 2077, but female Loki already knew what happened, and it blows my mind that they're going through time. They go to the future, but it's not the future to some people because it's already happened. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
It's kind of like Tenet.
Yeah. It also thinks in Endgame, the complications they went through to try and use quantum physics and go through the quantum realm to go back in time, and the TVA can just press the little machine and do it. You go, oh, but are they going back in time, or are they just going to timelines? That could be the difference. We think that they've gone forward in time, but they've just gone to a timeline that happens to be 50 years further along the timeline than theirs. But it's almost like Inception. You then get confused which timeline is the real timeline. If you're constantly going from, you're in the 1300s, then you're in 2000s, and then you're in the 3000s, which is actually the real timeline you belong in.
Who knows?
Yeah, it is confusing. You got any other questions?
How would you like the scenario to play out? Because like I said in the previous video, I kind of see it how they can do it as Loki takes over, Loki helps, because who takes over the structure shit? Because to me it seems like the free time lords are the bad guys, but I think how that might work, because you might say, well, if they're all three of them are bad, why don't they just control everyone? But I think one of them is bad, who's Kang the Conqueror. One of them is like a neutral one, and one of them is like good, and that's how the structure works.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'd like to know. The answer probably is known in the comic books. People have probably worked this out already. But being someone that likes to watch the movies and the shows opposed to reading the comic books, we're left with questions we don't know. I don't know if they're... I feel I've seen a picture of a female Loki before. Like, I feel like that's not something new. And I think they called her, like, Sylvia. And I swear I've seen that before. So we're talking like, oh, who's this female variant? But then there's other people that are big fans. They're like, oh, how do you not know about her? She's in this comic book and she's in that. So she might be an ongoing character they might add, which could be cool. I just like how Marvel can do that it can open up the world to people that don't read ahead and read comic books, that just want to follow the movies, but you can be surprised at every turn. That there is the answers to almost these things written somewhere already, but unless you go actively seeking, you're not going to be spoiled.
So with 3 episodes to go, are you concerned that everything's not going to resolved, or do you feel like 3 episodes is enough to get some answers in possible season 2?
It's a good question whether we will get the answer we want by the end of the season, or are they cleverly leading it up to season 2? Like, are they going to not give us the result we want, but set it up for a season 2? Maybe that's the plan. Maybe we'll finish this and we'll be left on a cliffhanger and it becomes a 2-season thing. Because we have been continually told Loki could be a multiple season show.
Yeah.
So maybe we shouldn't expect to get like a one and done answer that leads on to a movie like we have with WandaVision and Falcon the Winter Soldier. Maybe it is actually going to be its own 2-part thing, and it can be explained because time moves differently in the TVA and they're going between timelines. So the other stories continue to happen because Loki is in his own thing and he's not affecting the timeline we're used to watching. So just like when Ant-Man goes into the quantum realm, like it's not affecting the other realms, like normal world, and when he's in there, the time passes differently. So like he could be in the quantum realm for, seems like years upon years, but then when he returns, only like 1 second's passed in like our world. So it could be something like that. Maybe it is a 2-season thing, which would be... I don't know if I'd be disappointed or not, because I'd like to have an answer and then we just move on to another set of movies. But maybe some of these series need 2 seasons, otherwise they're going to run out of ideas if they just keep bringing out one-off constantly. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing season 2. Yeah. And overall, did you feel like episode 3... because it was the shortest episode, do you feel like it was a detriment to the episode, or did you feel like, because I remember you saying you felt like it went quicker because it was the shortest?
It definitely felt short. I didn't realise until you mentioned that it actually was the shortest. I didn't imagine it was short. But I don't like comparing episodes because overall it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it was the one episode that I finished and I thought, I didn't leave going, oh, how good was that? Not that it was bad, it was just the first 2 episodes were like, oh, wow, like constantly finding out new things. And then this is the one where we found out 2 little things. But then we saw stuff play out, but it felt like, it didn't feel important to the main story, but it probably is. Like, we watched a whole episode of them trying to get off a planet just because a device broke, which kind of felt like, oh, you've moved away from the storyline and we've got 1 episode of fill. Like, you just chucked this in, but it's not. It has to mean more to the main story. But it just felt like that. I think I felt hard done by because Morbius wasn't in there.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Owen Wilson's character and I want to find out more. So him not being in it felt a bit, like we missed an opportunity here. But as I said, they've got their reason and it will build onto something. Like it wouldn't be you can't have in a 6-episode series one episode that doesn't mean something. So we may not know how important it is until the next episode.
And how would you like to see, because its ending was more kind of depressing, kind of more, oh shit, they're in a pretty bad situation. Would you like it to be sort of they get out of the situation straight away in the next episode, or there's some build up? How would you like them to resolve that conflict?
I wouldn't mind seeing maybe what the TVA are doing, like maybe their perspective of what's happening, and maybe they're trying to work out where they went. And then whilst we're thinking, the Lokis are going to die, Morbius is on the other side going, yep, we found him, let's go get him right now. And then maybe that's where the episode ends, where they rescue them. And then we have 2 more episodes left, and maybe that episode is the Lokis telling Morbius about the TVA and what they're up to, and them discovering a bit more, and then the last episode being like a final fight or resolution. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next episode is the reverse. It's all Morbius and no Lokis.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I do like Loki, but I find Morbius a little bit more interesting, if I gotta be honest.
Yeah. I think because we know that he's... Owen Wilson as an actor is great, and this is the only cameo we're going to see of him in the Marvel Universe. So we kind of want to get the most out of it. Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it not as much as the others, only because we didn't discover... More because I'm left asking more questions, where the other 2 episodes I felt that the questions the episodes rose were resolved before the end of it. The only cliffhanger we were left on was, Loki's followed the other variant, where have they gone? But that's not really like, I need to know the answer. That's like, that's what next episode's going to be about.
And we found out that the TVA, their variants as well, and that's how they basically become the Time Police. Yeah,
so we found out that, but then again, we weren't given the answer. We know that they are, but we don't know why. So that's why I feel, I wasn't as satisfied as the first 2 episodes where we got the answers before the episode finished.
And with this episode focusing, I guess, on action, did you like the set pieces with the action, or?
They were okay. We know that Loki's are more about deception and some kind of magic, so the fight scenes weren't going to be that over the top. Like they were just, like they were just having hand-to-hand combat with other humans, I guess. So it was good, but we wouldn't expect the same fight scene we'd see between like Hulk or Thor or Captain America even. It was more, they added it for the sake of it because there was inevitably going to be conflict, but if they came up against someone too powerful, they would have struggled.
And I guess that scene when Loki got a little bit drunk, did you feel like he's a smart enough character that I just didn't, it felt like the reason why they wrote it in was so that fight scene could happen. I don't know. He's a smart enough character that I don't know. It felt a little bit strange they got drunk there. Like he's smart enough to be the smart one out of all the scenarios out of the 2, and then he was the one that dropped the ball in that one.
Yeah, I agree. They obviously needed a reason for them to get kicked off the train. So that was an easy way to write it. I guess they can pass it off and they go, well, Loki's unpredictable and he's cheeky and he likes to have a laugh. So you go, I could
sing and get drunk.
Yes, you go, I could see him doing that. Would he? Probably not, because he's sneaky, smart, he knows what he's doing, but it's not out of unexpected. It's something you'd see Thor do.
Yeah.
Like early days Thor, he was more about like drinking and like women and stuff like that before he became more sensitive and like became an Avenger. But yeah, again, it was the most logical way to explain them getting kicked off the train. Yeah.
So what's your expectations for episode 4?
I think episode 4 is going to be pretty good.
Mm.
I did say when we were discussing the other week, I think they were having the build episodes, and I thought this one was going to be the plateau, which I think it was. So the next one I think is going to be...
We're halfway now.
This one, the episode 4 is going to be a bit more excitement, and then heading towards the last two.
Mm.
I feel like episodes 5 and 6 are probably going to be almost follow on. Like you can imagine them as like one big episode, because we're probably going to be left with the cliffhanger that gets resolved in the last episode. But we're being left with the cliffhanger here, and I think...
How many cliffhangers do you need?
No, they need to end each episode on some sort of a cliffhanger. That's what you
Suspense.
do. But I hope I'm right. I think the next episode's going to be about the TVA and Morbius. Maybe him doing some research and finding out some sinister stuff, or I don't know.
Do you see them doing it like this with how Morbius actually knew it from the start and he was kind of sincere, or kind of... Do you see that happening with the character, or...?
No, I think Morbius will know more. I have a feeling, maybe this female judge, she could be something more.
I think so.
Like she could... Because she kind of like flirted with Morbius, and maybe the Timekeepers are good and maybe she's the bad one. Maybe she's Kanan the Conqueror that you mentioned in disguise or something, or... Maybe that could explain a lot, that the Timekeepers are actually good, but she is... Because she sentences people. Maybe she's the one that decides who's going to become a worker, and she decides who works, and she gives them their cases. So maybe the variants she's trying to get them to hunt aren't bad people. They're just people that cause a threat to her.
Could make sense.
Yeah. Because I feel like we probably won't see the Timekeepers. I feel like that... Maybe not. If your theory is correct, we will. But maybe the Timekeepers are just meant to be this elusive thing we don't know about. We're not meant to understand them. We're not meant to put a face to the name because they're so powerful. Because if we see too much of them, people go, well, next time we have a villain in the Marvel franchise, I'll just get the Timekeepers. They'll fix it, and then that would be pointless.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, don't know. Well, I don't have any more questions for you unless you've got any more.
I will say, I guess overall, we got a big reveal, leaves in some suspense. Looking forward to episode 4. We're going to be watching it. Yeah,
for sure. Coming out next Wednesday, and then we'll...
Do you like Wednesdays out of all the days of the week for the show to come out? That's, I think, a good question.
I liked Fridays better.
But there's other shows coming out Friday.
Wednesday's okay. The problem is I always seem to be busy on a Wednesday, so I'm watching it on a Thursday, so I'm watching it a day after everyone else.
Yeah.
But where Fridays, I watched it on a Friday. But I don't mind because I do have other shows to watch on a Friday. Disney, the
scheduling is good on...
Well, one of the shows I was watching is finished, but another show is still releasing new episodes on a Friday for a few more weeks. So Wednesday's fine. Yeah. If I end up watching it a day late, I watch it a day late.
Well, thank you for the discussion.
No
like and subscribe. Hope you're enjoying the content. Leave a comment down. Hope to see you in the next discussion, Loki. Let the Force be with you. Bye-bye.